Well, to be honest, I think my first thoughts were, I can fix this. I'm going to control this. I'm going to find myself a good oncologist. I went straight to action mode, and I didn't even call my husband. The doctors told me on the phone that I had leukemia and that I needed to go to the hospital immediately. And my first call was to another friend to try to get myself a good oncologist because, just go right into fix it mode. So I've learned a lot about myself in this journey. And that's one of my kind of probably character defects is I got to fix everything, control it all. So eventually I called my husband and got myself to the hospital, and I was in shock for quite a while. It was very abrupt. I think everyone else was pretty similar, had a similar reaction as me, is that they were just in shock because I was in fairly good shape, good health, and there wasn't a history of this in my family. It really worked out. God had worked it out ahead of time that one of my kids was already at a friend's house, and I called another friend to come get my other son. And I didn't know till I got in the car to go to the hospital. I asked my husband how long he thought I would be there, and he said 30 days. I was like, excuse me?
Wow.
He said, that's the standard treatment for leukemia. So we immediately started, probably the next day, we started a blog site to update people on the status of my cancer. And we have family and all of our families in ministry around the country. And so people around the world were there were thousands and thousands of people immediately praying and checking in every day to see. We would just update people on my condition every day. And so we had a lot of support through that for sure. One of the things I started doing with that blog is instead of just focusing on how the cancer was going, I started really doing a lot of self-reflection and writing about that. So, I've turned those posts have created 2 books so far. So I guess I have a lot of opportunities to reflect on ways that I need God's help. So it very much strengthened my faith, but it was very stressful and strenuous on my family in a different way. And we all came out still trusting God. But it was definitely a time of questions and fear and turning it over to God all the time. We knew there was nothing we could do about this cancer. Laura and I talked about this, and one of our main goals is to collect stories of hope and redeeming the bad stuff that we go through, whether it's cancer or other diseases or diseases of the soul, like worry and fear. All of it we can use for good in the world and in our families and in our own growth if we choose to do that. And we really want people to read these stories and embrace the impact of it. That doesn't mean we love cancer. And, some people are in situations with addiction. Doesn't mean they love addiction, but they know that it's turning them into a different, more faith-filled and positive and encouraging person as a result of those things. And that's how you embrace the impact of it. Actually, one of the things I was thinking when she said, get your team, that is very important. But I also would say, narrow your roster, because there's probably going to be people on your team that need to get off your team because you're already in a volatile situation with your health. And if you have people and your emotions, people around you who are causing undue stress and toxic problems, you have the right to get those people, tell them to stay back for a while.
Right,
so I think that's important. Not everyone has to come to the hospital if they're causing stress for the nurses and stress for the doctors. You get to choose those people. So you might need to, make some cuts in some ways. The other thing I would say is write it down. Keep track of what you're going through in some way. Either write it or type it. I had an iPad, or I would type my stuff out, or say it, talk it into your phone or something. But you're going to think that you'll remember all of this. And sometimes you think you don't want to remember of it, but there will come a time where you do. And you can use the things you went through to encourage others, because that's why we're doing this book. Is that it's one thing for someone who doesn't have cancer to pray for you and encourage you and send you notes, but it's a whole different type of affinity you have with someone who has the same disease as you. And you're going to use this experience, hopefully, to encourage someone else who's going through the same. I know for me, when I first got in the hospital, there were 2 other patients in there with leukemia who came in my room and said, I know how you feel. You're not alone. I know exactly what you're going through. And that made all the difference to me, more than what anybody else said. So I think it's very important to write it down, and use it to, I fully believe we go through what we go through so we can help others get through what we went through. And we can't do that, especially if we're on drugs and we forget what we went through. So it's important to get those things written out somewhere, or, recorded. So many ways. Really, the initial reason I started to write was because I needed to get it out of my head, so I didn't ruminate on it and stress out and become more and more afraid. And it just got that fear out of me and onto some paper. And when I shared that with other people, even people who didn't have cancer, they felt encouraged, and they felt like they could go one more day in the situation that they were in. If you have cancer and you can do that, then I think I can handle what I have going on today. And so I keep writing because I have a lot of diseases and plagues of the heart, as I call them, that continue to haunt me, and I have to get those out on paper. And it helps me, but it also encourages other people who are feeling like they might be the only ones struggling. Well, I just think I love the style of this book, that you just get to write. All you have to do is write your story. And because I have written a couple other books, and let me tell you what, I almost gave up several times because it is a lot of work, and it's not the kind of work I'm good at. I'm good at writing and telling my story, but I'm not good at publishing and editing and all that stuff. That stuff about killed me. So if all you have to do is write your story and turn it in, and you guys do all, Sally and Linda do all the work and the behind the scenes and promote it and the marketing, that's amazing. And I also think just the opportunity to share how you have embraced this impact with other people. Primarily, it's going to be cancer patients reading it, and they need to know that they are not the only ones who are having these feelings, and that there is hope at the end of their journey, or even during it. A lot of people who are going to write this story have, metastatic breast cancer. They have something that is never going to not be part of their physical life. And you can impact people even while you're sick. I started writing when I was in the hospital. That's when my first blog post was. It's the first one in my book is from when I was in the hospital with leukemia in that first 30 days. And in a way, I didn't know if I was going to live. And we don't know how long any of us are going to live. So just get started.